Hello guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, that's cool. So nobody can give me a recap of what you guys have done on CSS. Yes, Edwin. Yes,
Okay,
Edwin.
good evening, sir. Good evening. So I might not remember everything we did, but I can just give a little of what I remember. Um, we started. They started with telling us what CSS is. That is Cascadian Style Sheet. We use it for designing our website, and we talked about how we can change our colors, text colors, how we can change our background color, and how we can add Google fonts, like if we want to add an extra font to our web page. And we also talked about um, how we can do small designing using CSS. I'm sorry. Okay,
No,
I don't know.
don't be sorry. What are you sorry for? What are you sorry for? Don't be sorry. So it's cool. So you guys have an idea of what this thing does, right? Like what CSS is. You guys have a basic idea of what CSS is because if I'm going right now, I'm going as you guys understand this. I'm not going to start from the beginning and I'm not going to be drawn back. That is the reason for my questions. I've been waiting for you guys. Okay, that's cool. Um, so basically, with your idea of CSS, also known as cascading style sheets, is just a synthesis to that is used to design the web to make it more beautiful and interactive. That's basically what it is for. So that's basically what it is for. Okay. So if you can see my screen, just indicate and we move forward. Okay. So basically, this is CSS continuation. And then, so I want you guys to read like this text. Like I want you guys to read this text from beginning to end because I just want to pass something. So you guys should read this text from beginning to end. Give us a few seconds to do that. If you're done with the text, just put up your hands and we move forward. Okay. So basically, you see that this text is is long and it just goes on and on and on and on without really having any context. You will see how easily bored you would get while reading this text, even though it has been written length, the width, everything about the text is really just long. And as humans nowadays, we have this, we just want to glance and then get the entire picture from just a few lines of text. So basically, this will not be an intro to CSS. You understand? So when you look at this, outline, you would see something different about it. You understand? So if you see this outline and if you feel that there's something different between this and the previous outline, just put up your hand. Okay, so basically, when you look at this outline, even though it is is monochrome, but you'll be able to see, okay, there's sort of hierarchy to this. There is an important one that we're supposed to see. Then there is a kind of heading, and then there is a place where you would like see text. And then the text is now you can just run your entire eye over it, and then you would be done with it. So almost anything can be done with CSS if you put your mind to it, actually. So most of some animations, some timing things can be done with CSS. You understand? And that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to using CSS. Now, that's all for a recap, basically. So layout and positioning. So CSS runs safely on its layouts and positioning. So it's paramount that you understand certain parameters of styling and the vast layouts that has vast representations of how they can be used and their functions. So layout and positioning should be used with the most care as they are fragile and can make or mar your project, meaning that depending on how you use please, once you put up your hand after something, please put it down. Joseph, Anthony, and Bright. So you have to understand how you use your layouts so that you would be able to create a proper and visible frame in CSS. So consider this layout now. So this is the basic layout of how a website would be done, and we are going to actually build this in class currently. So if you're with a system, if you're with your device presently, just put up your hand. Like if you're with a device you're going to use to code, for my phone guys and for my laptop guys. So just put up your hand. So the method is that this thing is going to be vastly different on phone and laptop, because this layout is basically a laptop layout. So I'm not going to start I'm not going to share my entire screen so you guys would see my entire layout, and then we'll now prep a project from start to the finish. Okay, so do what we do normally. Then we create our directory, make then we now create our folder. Let's call the folder layouts. Then cd layouts. Then we now create our index.html. Then we now create our style.css. Then we now open our project. So we have a basic layout here, a basic project layout here. So So we now have our predetermined values, and in here we are now going to run our normal initial declarations. Wait, did you guys touch initial declarations? Like in CSS, you guys touch your initial declarations, the thing that you should do to maintain a specific thing, so that you not have the default padding and the default margin on your project. If you want to speak, just put up your hands. Okay. So basically, you declare your initial stylings. That is your to prevent the browser's default. I'll show you guys what the browser's default is like. Before and after. So we have padding 0, margin 0, WebKit sizing, border box again. So that is it. And then for our HTML body, a font family would be font use something simple. That's something that will look nice. Then inside here we will now have something that says hello world, H1, hello world. So Bright, your hands are still raised up. I don't know whether I want to ask a question or something else. Okay, so I would need somebody to guide me in how to import my CSS inside my HTML, so that I'll be able to effect these styles. Somebody.
Can I? Can
Yes,
I?
sure. Yes, sure. Definitely. Tell me what to do.
Create a tag link
Where am I creating the tag?
inside your head tag.
Okay, I'll create a tag link. How should I create the tag? Should they have an opening and a closing?
No, just one tag.
Okay.
So
And what do I
inside the
do?
tag, you have rel, rel equals to style sheet.
Hmm. Then
Then href, then no. 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 Is it href or src?
Yes, style.css.
That was CSS, sorry. I was confused there, sir.
I don't understand. Am I changing the href?
No.
Okay. Okay. So let's run this and see what it looks like. So we have our simple hello world displayed. Okay, let's check whether this thing worked. So inside here, if I come and say background green, I want my background changed to green. So okay, so it worked. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your
So,
help.
sorry, I wanted to ask something. That's the linking of the CSS file must we add a backslash? I thought the backslash is not even needed.
It depends. It depends. It's because it is in the same file. If I add a backslash, you understand, it doesn't, it just points me back to that same directory. You understand? So the backslash points me to the directory. You know, what this thing now does is that, let's say that I have my CSS stored in another file, you understand? So this backslash helps me to route that particular file. And that is basically what it does. It's just a routing parameter. So let's say that I have a folder here that is called CSS, and then inside here I now
So,
have. Huh?
Sir, please, so don't be offended. I'm not even talking about this one you're talking about. I'm talking about like the link tag.
Oh, the link tag.
Uh,
Okay, whether this backslash should be here.
yes.
Well, it's dependent on. Yeah, just put it there for safety purposes. Just put it there. You understand me? It's not a
Okay,
must.
sir.
It's not a must. It must be there for like normal projects, like normal HTML, CSS projects, but just put it there for safety purposes. Because when you now advance more in using other frameworks and libraries, you find out that they have that a particular way of writing it. So just be putting it there to get used to it. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, we can see that the routing of the style.css into my style sheet into my HTML component is very nice. So you see how this thing looks now. Let's say that I remove these initial declarations, these pseudo components now. Look at what happens. You see that there is a default padding or margin that comes with this. So it is a must, is a must, and it is common practice that you declare these elements before you start writing your code, so that you remove the browser default padding and other default things that come with it. So that's basically it. So what is our aim right now? Our aim is to work on this layout. So to work on this layout, there are two ways we can go about it. Yeah. So we can use the grid method, and we can use the flex box method. So the first method we're going to be using is flexbox. So flexbox is short for flexible box layout. It's a CSS layout model designed for one-dimensional layouts such as rows or columns. It simplifies the alignment and distribution of elements within a container. So now there is a relationship. In a flex layout, you have the parent container, that is flex container, and its child elements, the flex items. The container defines the layout, and the items are just to fit the available space. Now, let's say that inside this body, yeah, we have a main. Let's say that we have a main. So we now have the background green here. So we now want something contrasting. We now say main. We now give it background red. When we come here, we are not going to see anything definitely, because we have not done something specific. We have not declared the width and height. So we now declare the width. We now say let the width be 300 pixels, and then the same thing with the height. Then we will have this here. Now, there are ways we can get this thing to move around this entire box model. So, but before we do that, we have to also declare the height and width of this model. So let's say height equals to 100 visual height, and then the width is equals to 100%. 100% in the sense that you're taking into the parameters of your browser screen. That means that it is going to be the full width of your browser screen. And then the 100 visual height means that it's going to be the full visual height of that particular screen. So then, now these are flexbox functions. The flexbox works predominantly with on parent and child communication. So the parent tells the child, dictates to the child how the child stays in your component. So the parent component now, or the parent element, is the body tag, while the child element is the main tag. Now let's say that I want to put this main tag to the center. So using my flex, I will do this display flex. This is a way of calling your display telling it that you want to use the flex display on your project. Display flex, align item center. So if you see what align item does, it takes it to the center of that declared path. You understand? So it moves it. You can see that there is equal sizing from here to here, and there's equal sizing from here to here. Now let's say that we remove the height 100 VH now. You will see that nothing will affect it. Why? Because it is not. It is asking itself, where am I going to align things to center? There is no height that has been defined. There is really nothing that I'm moving. There is really nothing I am moving along with here, and there is nothing I'm calculating myself with. So, but if I pull back this thing, you would find out that it will now readjust itself, because there is a definite container within this element which it has been declared. So you now say align item center and then justify content center. Center. So this now puts the box in the middle. So this basically is one way to center a div. This is one way to center a div in CSS. You understand? So it deals with parent to child communication. You see that it's the parent that's telling the child how the child stays inside. So you have a height and a width for this, and then the parent now dictates, okay, this is how I want you guys to stay inside this. Now, I'm not going to introduce you guys to a concept called CSS variables. Now, let's say that you're going to use wait, did you guys touch CSS variables? Did you guys touch the CSS variables? John, your hands are still up.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Okay. So I'm going to touch on the concept CSS variables. It's just an add-on that I feel that you guys should know and start using from this age. So CSS variables, basically what it does is it declares a set of values that you would be able to reuse throughout the entire project. Let's say that you're working on a large project and you have a color constant that you're going to use it throughout the entire project. CSS variables helps you to maintain that and use it throughout your entire project. So now, these variables are typically declared in the root pseudo element. So you can see it has already brought out the AI I used has already brought out a suggestion for me. So let's go with this. So it declares a primary for me. Let's see if it will declare secondary for me. It declares a secondary for me. I'm going with whatever this gives me. Then let's see what else it declares for me. Then it now declares the tertiary color for me. Okay, so it just let's just use these three colors. You understand? So now let's say that I want to change this background color to my primary color. I just need to come here and call in my var and then say primary. Then automatically it changes to my primary color because I'm already calling it from this CSS variable. You understand? So a variable is a place. So you have consistent colorings. So I have consistent colorings and set values. It's not only colors that can be stored in the variables. Now let's say that you're going to be using height and width, and you're going to need something to like calculate these values with. So you can say that your height would be 100 VH. Let's declare it that way. And then you now say that your width would be 100% by default. And then you now come and change this into their respective variables. You now say var height, and then you now change this one to Let's first of all let's check what happens. You see that this thing still remains, and also if you comment this out, you see that it resets back to default. Now, tell me what you guys noticed with what I just with what just happened right now. Like there's something different that happened. So I need someone to tell me what just happened now. Uh,
You removed the height, so it went back up. The div couldn't find where to center itself.
but there's a difference with where it went back up to.
Yeah. Normally, when you did it the first time, it would have moved to the middle, but by the left.
Mhm.
But this time around, it just went up.
No, okay. So that is
You
because
see,
I've already the justify content works on the justify content the justify works on the x axis, so to say. So to put it that way, why this works on the horizontal axis. So this works on the am I right? Horizontal on the y-axis. The align works on the y-axis and the justify works on the x-axis. So that is why when I did it. So if I remove this thing right now and then remove the width instead, yeah, I remove the width instead, you will still find out that it's done. Why? Because by default, the body takes on the width of 100%. We are just declaring it so that we would know exactly what we are doing. So we are just declaring it by default so that we know exactly what we are doing. But by default, it takes on the width. eh, Yeah. So by default, it takes on the width of 100%. But still, that will not stop us. We now declare our var and then we now put our width. So that is it. Note that these things don't have to be stagnant. You can change this primary to blue. It will still be the same thing. The colors, the naming sense can change here. Anything can change here, but just make sure that you call the name you attributed it to it. So that's basically just call the name whenever I need it. And this now I want to change it to the secondary color var secondary. Yeah. So yeah, and there we have it. So as you see, it still works on the when I commented this out, it went back up, meaning that this thing works on a horizontal scale. And if I go back, I'll comment this out. This will go back. This thing works on a vertical scale. Okay. So that's that about that. That's that about root. I can also declare, let's say that I'm going to use different font sizes. So I'm going to use, let's say that the normal font size I'm going to use is font 1. I'll just change font FT1. Remember to put your double dash FT1. You now have, let's say, the current 16 pixels, right? Then you now have to say FT2. You now have, let's say, yeah, sure. Let's give it 20 pixels. And you now have FT3. Let's now give it something bigger. You now give it something like 40 pixels. So with these things that has been declared, now let's come here now and say that, let me say that maybe you have a P tag that says hello world. You see how it is here? Let's now come and say that our main h1, now give it a font size of 3. Wait, what did I do? Oh God! So what the guys just experienced now is just an example of how bugs happen. So I came inside my CSS here and then did main H1, and then inside here what I'm using is P. So this is an example of how frustration starts. An example of how frustration starts. So if you do not look well, and then you're not saying, "But I gave this thing this style, and it's supposed to be working," and then you not start looking for the error where the thing did exactly what it told it to do. So that's exactly how it can happen. So yeah, so this is 40 pixels of font size. So you can use this to store constant font sizes and other things. So the same thing. Let's now say that you want a specific border radius that you're going to reuse. Border radius. You give it 5 pixels. So let's do 5 pixels. You now come here and then say border radius var border radius. So you see it's affected. Let's make it to something more conspicuous. 10 pixels. Okay, it works. 30 pixels. 30 pixels. 30 pixels. So yeah, you can see that it's working. So you can use this thing to determine whatever I want to determine. Yeah. So it can be used and reused and reused with whatever you want to use it for. So that's that about that gist. So back to the main concept. We said that we are going to design this. So now we are going to be making good use of semantic HTML. We have this. So I'm just going to clear this entire thing from the beginning and start from the beginning, so you guys will like follow how we can achieve this design. So we now have our header. When we now have our header, we now have our nav. When we now have our nav, we now have our let's say, okay, we now have a section. Now inside that section, we now have three things. In the three things we have two that are called content. So let's call them aside. Then we have our main. Then we now have our article. Okay, and then we now have our footer. So for clarification's sake, I'm just going to give this in their names: header, then navigation, aside, main, article, then footer. Okay, yeah. Let's remove this. Let's remove this entire thing. So yeah, we have seen how they align themselves on this axis. Yeah, we see how they align themselves on this axis. So now our main aim now is to achieve this design, and to achieve this design, you have to understand how it works. First of all, we are using Flexbox. If you're using Flexbox, you now have to understand this. That look at this thing. That it works. It simplifies alignment distribution of elements within a container, and it defines the layout, and the items adjust to fit the available space. Meaning that in Flex layout, you have a parent container, the Flex container element. So sorry, because these things are the same thing. I'll change them to aside. That I will not conflict, so we will just do the same thing. So yeah, so both of them will just be aside. It is good that way. It's good that way. So now, the first thing we need to do is we have declared our height and we have declared our width. I'm giving this in a color. Let's change. Let's change this color into something more visually appealing. Let's change this color into something more visually appealing. So we say we are teaching, and then we will now blind people with what they don't understand. Okay, accept. So this is an application that you can use to get a wonderful color palette of your choice. So we're just going to go with 3 colors for now. So it can generate different shades of colors, and the colors match. So I'm just okay. This looks like a good combination. So I choose this. I choose this for my primary. Let's name this primary. Then I choose this for my secondary. This is for my secondary, and then I choose this for my tertiary. Okay, so I'll change this thing from here to primary, and then sure it should update. Okay, that's cool. Back to what we are doing. So now I want to achieve this in using I want to achieve this in using Flexbox. You understand? So first of all, what do? I now declare display flex. Okay, when I now declare display flex, I now say, look at what it does immediately. Look at what it does immediately. If you see, you will see how it flex this item. So there are 4 specifications. There are 2 core specifications of the flex box: the row and the columns. So as we read, we see it aligns things in rows or in columns. So now let's now say flex. The default one is row. Flex direction row. When we choose the row, you see it remains this way. You understand? Then we now have the row reverse. We have the row reverse. You see what it does? It reverses everything and takes it back to a starting point, but it reverses everything here. You understand? Then we now have the column. You know, see the column now puts everything back to how it was in the initial state. You understand? Then we now have the column reverse. So this just takes everything back up. So you just take everything from back to up. Now, why this thing is working with this kind of movement, why is it moving across the entire screen, is because we have the height defined. If we did not have the height defined, you understand, it will just do as such. Now let me do the same thing for the row reverse so that you see exactly what I'm saying. So the width is constant. The width is constant. Even if I remove the width, it's still going to do this. But the main thing you have to get is that if it's because I'm working with a height, you understand, it now moved that entire thing down there. So just know that it moves, your child components move with respect to what is declared by the parent component. So keep that in mind. But then for the sake of this design, you will notice that I have successfully separated this thing into major components. Now, our major components here are the header, the navigation menu, the one that contains the entire content, main content, and then the footer. Those are the 3 things because we're using flex, because we're using a flex layout. So, because if I do this, let's say that I remove this now. Let's say that I remove this section now. Watch how this code is. Let me reset this thing back to default. Watch how this thing is appearing. You see that you have header, navigation, aside, main, aside. aside being aside, it's still in its normal, cocoa, and then we now have a footer. Okay. Now, let's say that I remove this section. You see that it adjusts itself in the same thing. Why? Because it is not more a child of, it is not more a child of the section, but it is now a child of the body, meaning that it is now affected by, this flex. Now notice that this section was keeping it guarded in its original phase. Why? Is because we had not declared anything on the section yet. So back to what we are saying. So this is how this thing looks. So now we have now seen our display flex, but then the arrangement here is that everything is column. So we now say flex direction column. When you now say flex direction column, it now does this. So I now want, the header, the nav, and the footer to have a specific specific height and width. You understand? So I can do this. Let's say that I give it I'll call them header. I'll call them header, nav, footer, definitely. Then I'll now say width is 100%. Sorry, excuse me. And then the height, I'll now give it a height of 100 pixels. You understand? So once I give it a height of, to see what we have done, let's now say border 5 pixels solid var tertiary. Okay, so this is how it looks. I think this thing is too much. The height of 100 pixels. I think 50 pixels is okay. Okay, yeah, 50 pixels is okay. So you would see that the header, the navigation, and the footer all have equal height and equal width. So I'm now going to do, I'm not going to text align to the center. This should align the text to the center, and then yeah, again, if I want to do the same thing, if I want to put the text properly to the center, I can say display flex align item center justify content center. I'm justifying the content within it, so everything now stays in the center. You understand? So now is now the layout you now need to get is this. So as we have now gotten this layout, we can see that they are too close together. So inside here, we can now come and give it a gap of let's say 10 pixels. So when we give a gap of 10 pixels, we can see that these things have given a little bit of gap amongst themselves. You understand? In tandem to the place where they are located. So this thing has given itself a gap. So now we are now done with the main. We are now done with the previous focus. You understand? So let's now move on to the section. So we now have the section. So inside the section, we can now say display flex. So this is now flexes it. So inside the flex, we can now say section, because we want to give the section and the aside. The two aside should have the same width. So we can say width. You understand? Let's say width is 300 pixels. So the width is 300 pixels. Then let's not give them a border. We are still going to give them the same border. So I just bring this in down here. So I'm giving it the same border. Then because I'm giving these two things 300 pixels. So I can now still come inside and say my section and my main. Because the main is single, I can now say the width should be 100%. So because the let's use this one 30%. Let's use percentages. Let's use percentages. Yeah. Because this thing is because I gave my main to be 100%, it just maxes out the entire screen. It just maxes out the entire screen. Then I can also display flex. Then gap, I'll give it a gap. Let's say I give it a gap of 10 pixels too. Then they now have gap of 10 pixels. Then I can also say this same thing, so the text to be in the center. So the text to be in the center, and then yeah, then I have this. I have to collect this. Okay, so that the text will be in the center, and then inside this thing now, I cannot say the height 100%. Let's see what happens. I also have to declare this one too. Okay. So we have done this. So let's say that let me now say that this thing has. Let's give both of them the height of 100%. Doesn't work. Okay, so why this thing did not work is because this thing does not have a specific height. Now, remember that I told you that the width is automatic. You understand? But we still use the width in calculation. I can still come here and say width is 100%, and nothing would change because it's the width. You understand? So, but then now I can say this height is 100%. You see, if once I say that, because I'm dealing with the parent, remember that this is flex. So I'm dealing with the parent. So once I'm dealing with the parent, you would see that it has to work with the children automatically. Once I've declared for the parent, I need not declare for the children for me to be able to have this. Let me change this one for the main from tertiary to secondary. So there will be a distinction. Oh, no. There will be a distinction. So with that, we have successfully created this design to a certain extent. So with that, we have successfully created this design to a certain extent. So yeah, questions can come in. Who has questions concerning what I've just done? Should I take it that all of us understand exactly what I have done?
Yes, I understand, sir.
Okay. That is cool. Okay. So we have now successfully used our Flexbox to recreate this design. You can see how we have just made this outline with just a few lines of CSS code to create a flexible design. So people that are using mobile, were you able to do this? Hello? People that are using mobile, you could just type in the chat, I'll be able to see it. If you're able to like follow up with what's going on here. But it's cool. So that's it about Flexbox. So the key properties of the Flexbox are the display flex. You create a flex container, then the flex direction specifies the main axis, the row or column. They justify content, aligns item along the main axis, aligns items along the cross axis. Then flex wrap determines whether items should wrap to a new line if they don't fit. Then flex grow, flex shrink, flex basis. These ones you will discover and use as you move on. But this I just covered now is the basics of how you could use Flexbox to create a flexible container for your work. Now, the next thing we're going to go into now is the grid layout. Now, the grid is a two-dimensional layout system that allows you to create a complex grid-based layout with rows and columns. Like Flexbox, you have a grid container and grid items. The container defines the grid, and the items are placed within it. Then you know, so that's basically there's still the same parent and child communication. So same thing we did before. So let's drop all this. Let's drop all this code aside. Let's drop all this code aside because we don't need them. Then we're now going to drop this one too. So now let's now say that we have a we go with our main again. Then inside here we now say main. Not say main. What does our main have? Our main has a height of 300 pixels and a width of 300 pixels. Then a background of tertiary should display. Yes. So it has a background of tertiary. So here I just say display with place content center, and it should do that automatically. So that's the thing about grid. The grid just does it and then snaps to it. Then we can, instead of this place content, we can say place items, and you will see that there is a little bit of issue when it comes with using grid to do this. So you have to say, you said place item, and this one says content. This one talks about the content itself. So if you're talking about positioning the content, you position the content. When you're talking about positioning the items in your items as they are aligned, that's when you now use place items. So you should know when to use what, and then you now find out that using Flexbox and grid are dependent on what you want to achieve. So now our next magic trick would be to create this layout using grid. Now this is where you find out that some magic tricks have a lot of work put into them, and others are just simple. So now let's revitalize this, our guys. So we have this. Yes, I'll release this, and I thought okay, the main is still I will do this too. So watch what I did. I just declared the grid, and it has already segregated these things into their separate parts. So watch this. It's together, but once I declare a grid, it now puts things into perspective. It now demarcates them into grid. It now combines the things that needs to be together and the ones that not together. With our normal current, with our normal current brouhaha, let us so I need to do this in one by after each because of reusability. I will not need to rewrite a whole lot of codes while still maintaining the exact format. So I'm going to remove. So this thing basically, yeah, I'm not going to just change it to display grid place center. So yeah, I'm just doing it so that I'll be able to place the text in the center. Yeah, because normally the text is just up and in the center, but I'm doing it to place this text in the center. So we see what the grid has done for us. Alright. So when I'm using grid, yeah, to show you guys the full extent of how grid works, I'm not going to be using this section. So I'm now going to give each of them their own segment. So now, that is it. So now, watch this. So I said the display is grid. So now I now have this domain, and I say to place this thing as they are there. Now say grid template areas. Grid template areas. I will say the header, the header, the header, the header. Header. Click click, okay, so I have this. So you take the header, okay, and then yeah, okay, and then the next phase should take the um nav, 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 nav. Okay, maybe I'll come here. Okay, so when this place takes the nav, when this excuse me for a second. So we go again, and then so we go again, and then we now say, because we now want this thing to have this, we now say aside main aside. We're going to repeat this again, and we are going to repeat this again, and then we now have footer, 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 footer. So let me now give this in. I will now come here and say aside comma main along, just give it this. Also do this to it. Okay, so that it has this. That it has this. Now, the main issue is now that I've declared this. Oh, let this be aside one, side two, side one, side one. But the main thing is now this. After this has become like this, what happens? You understand? What happens? I can just let me come here and give it in a gap of 10 pixels. So why is this thing still the way? Why is this thing still the way it is? Understand? Why is it still for this I'm going to have to change this thing to article. I want to use purely semantics. I'm not going to change this entire thing. I'm not going to change this thing. Okay, so there we have it. We now ask ourselves, why is this thing still this way? Why is this thing still this way? So even if you are done with this, there's still one more step we need to do. We still need to come to the header and then display grid area. We need to now call it the header. So once you now have the grid area, the header, then we now come here, there's in the nav. We now say grid area, we now have nav. Then we now have the aside, we now have grid area, aside. Now have main, we now have grid area, main. We now have article, now grid area, article. We now have footer, and now grid area, footer. Okay, so let's come and look at this thing and see how it is. Okay, so basically this is what we have and how we have it. So we can see that we have recreated the design, but it's much tougher to actually work this out on a grid, because though we still have the entire concept laid out, but you see that it has become quite tasking for us to actually piece these things together properly. As we say, let's head the number of things you have here is actually quite determinate to what exactly is going to go on. So let's just say that I remove one here. I have to remove one for others. If not, there will be an error. If not, there would be an error, as we have seen already. So I have to remove one here. Remove one here. Move one here. Remove one here. Move one here. You see the same thing. You see something you understand. But the main thing is that click this with 100%. Yeah, to be this. So I just save it 100%. Okay. Then it's So you can see that although we have tried to achieve this layout, you will still find out that it's quite tough at achieving it with grid. Nonetheless, it's also paramount that you also learn how to use this, because it also gives insight on how you'll be able to. There are complex layouts that would actually need you to use this. That would actually need you to use this grid to function. So, that is that about that. We have semi-successfully recreated this design. So let's see what happens in the hood. Let's see sorry, excuse me. So let's see what happens under the hood. So okay, so you can see that this thing has divided it into grid. You will see that this thing divided the entire body into grid. Let me check why this thing isn't working properly. Okay. So that's it about that. We will see that we have successfully created this, have successfully created an outline, but it is not as perfect as as the outline that we want. So that's that about grid. So you can see the difference between grid and flexbox, and how you can be design intuitive about using it to make your designs. So now this is another concept, the concept of floats. Now, the floats are a CSS property that controls the alignment and position of elements within a container, typically for creating text wrapping around images and other floated items. Yeah, so these are the things to note about floats. Floats were originally designed for text wrapping around images and have since been used for layout purposes. Floating an element takes it out of the normal document flow and moves it far left or far right of its container. The common values for the float property are left and right, which determine the direction of the float. Elements following a floated element will flow around it, creating a wrapped effect. Floated elements can cause layout issues like collapsing parent containers, which may require clearing floats using the clear property. Floats have largely been replaced by modern layout techniques like flexbox and grid for complex layouts. So the main thing I'm just trying to point out to you guys that there's another alignment method called floats, which you can use, which you can actually use. So when you now use this method, yeah, you would be able to, sorry, you'll be able to understand that there is more things that are better than this. So you use it depending on the availability of what you're going to be doing and how you are going to be doing it. So that is just a good use case of floats. Okay, but floats should be used only when necessary. When I mean only when necessary, it's maybe you want to put a text around something to define it, and maybe that thing is for only that screen. So you can be able to use floats, but that's when you're having like complex layout designs that you need actually to pan out something. That's when you not come and use the floats. It's going to spoil your. It's going to spoil your entire code and layout. You'll be wondering what went wrong. So before I move on to media queries, do you have any question on floats? What we have just done in the flex box and the grid and its use it. Yes, Anthony.
Uh, Thank you, sir. I saw over there that talking about float, use at your risk. So what does that mean?
Yeah, it means exactly what saying. Use it at your own risk. It's only when it is crucial that you'll be able to use floats. Only when necessary. Only when absolutely necessary.
Okay.
You understand? So
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Does anybody need any other clarification? Any other thing to go on? Yes, Anthony. Yeah,
I think
Anthony.
before you go to media, I think you will show us an example of the float.
Example of floats. Okay, so
I have a question. I have a question.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Yes, John. Yes, John, do you want to say something?
Please, this and align, are they the same thing?
Hmm?
Align and float.
No, they are not. They are not the same thing.
Okay.
So someone said I should show them how to use float, and I'll be obliged to. Let's just get some things cleared. Okay, this okay. This will be okay. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to be needing here right now is my normal main. So let's say I have this now, and then now let's say that I have this image. Then I have a cap, and I have a paragraph. Inside this paragraph is lorem times lorem, lorem times 20. Okay, let's say that I have this ridiculous very long texts beside this my distance. So this is what happens. So now in my main, yeah, I'll remove this and say I'll set the width to 100%. Okay, so inside this my main now, I cannot have my main img. I cannot say float left. So if I say float left, you see what happens? You see what happens? Let me remove this background image. You see what happens? So everything now floats around it. And then I cannot say margin left, no, margin right, sorry, 10 pixels. So at the right, it gives a little bit of gap. So you see what happens? It wraps everything. Let me increase this text. So you guys, lorem times 500. Okay, so you see exactly what happens. Let me use upper margin 0, 0, 0, 0. Margin top right bottom and px. Okay, 0 top right then npx. Okay, so this is actually what float does. You understand? You see how this text is so beautifully distributed through here. So the same thing if I do the float to the right, move to the right, yeah, and then I now have to switch this thing to the actually not to the top, but to the left and to the bottom, or to the left and to the bottom, top, right, bottom, left. I have to switch this into the left and to the bottom. You understand? So that it will actually look nice. So those are the only two places you can like use. You can use float in. You understand? These are the ways you can. This is what float does, and this is how float looks, and this is how float looks like. Okay, does anybody have any question? John, your hand has been up. Yeah, Anthony.
Okay. This Zillorum, did you download it or you just write it didn't appear there?
I downloaded the image. The image is in my file path, so I imported the image. It's,
Okay.
yeah. So that's about that. So media queries. So what are media queries? I'm not really going to dive deep into media queries. You understand? I'm just going to give you an explanation of what media query does. You understand? So media queries are a powerful feature of CSS that allow you to create responsive web designs. Then they enable you to apply different styles and layouts to web page based on the different factors such as screen size, device orientation, and even the user's preferences. So now the key takeaways are the responsive web design, the condition-based styling, device characteristics, user preferences, and syntax. Now let's say I'm going to bring back our former beautiful code, something that we had previously, the one that we use Flex to do, the one we use Flex to do. That means I have to do this thing right now. I said I was just going to touch some things on the inside, so nothing much will happen to what we are doing. Shona gets. So all of us will remain happy with each other before we go back. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm just going to write a little bit of code here and there, and then make things look nice. That's basically it. Okay, this is it. Okay, let's see whether I have my screen back. Back. Why isn't it back yet? Oh. So I'm change this thing back to our side. Side. I change this thing. Okay, then clear this, remove this. Yeah, use my. Oh, okay, okay. Then oh, okay. I see. I have to remove this. Yeah, okay. Melt this back. So I should have my layout back most interpretedly. So I should hope. So what's the big idea here now? I have my header, my nav, my footer. Five. So what is wrong with my code? Why isn't it showing? Need to see. Better than my footer, my nav. Sorry, sorry guys. I'm trying to figure out this entire thing. Why I'm really receiving this error, because I don't understand why I will be receiving an error. Ah, I see. Like I say, the littlest things can cause you errors. Okay, so now we are back in business. When we're back in business, I can now go further and then explain and expatiate on what exactly media query does. So watch this thing right now. You will see that it's good on the laptop, but as we get to smaller screens, you see that it doesn't really cut it any longer. You see, it doesn't really cut it any longer. With 100%. So this thing now fools. As we get to smaller screens, you see that this thing does not cut it any longer. So what if now that we want that when we get to smaller screens, that then this section shows something, this section shows something different. So now that's what media query does. So now you can now set this thing. Okay, let me put it back. Let me put it back to this thing. So you can now set it because as we looked at here, we say that media queries are using the at media rule. So we now say media screen, and let's now say that because let's now say that we now want to use now set a max width. Now there are breakpoints for computers and tablets and phones. So the ones for mobile is less than or equal to 638 pixels. So that is the standard breakpoint. Then we now have the one for tablets, which is from 638 px to 1000 px. Then we now have for small screens. So for small screens is from 1000 px to 1200 px, and large screens is anything greater than 1201 px. 1201 px. So yeah, this is just it, but you can go and do your research and get more on it. But then the main breakpoint I want to use here is 800 pixels. So I say max with 800 pixels. So in 800 pixels, what I want to do, I would say section flex direction column. Exactly. So in section flex direction column. So let's see what happens. So as it reaches, watch what happens once it reaches 800. What happens when it reaches 800? We're looking at this breakpoint here. So let's say I put 800 here. Understand? This is exactly how it appears. But let's say that I now increase back to other ones. You see how it appears. Okay, so this is how it appears. Understand? This is how it now appears. Then we now want to do more. Then we now want to say the height is 100%. And in that height, then inside that height now, we now have the section on our side to have a height of the aside to have section aside. It should have a height of 30%. I don't really need to declare this height here again. And then the section main should have a height of 100%. And then their width now here should be 100%. So you see that we have successfully done this thing for large screens and small screen. Understand? Using media queries. So it now has a different look on smaller screens and a different look on larger screens. So that is one use of media query. So I'm just touching on the periphery of media query. I'm not really going that deep into media query. This is just an introduction into media query. So you can use it for responsive web design. You can use it for condition-based styling. Media queries are the core of the responsive web design, allowing websites to adapt and look great on various devices, from smartphones to large desktop monitors. Then you now have condition-based styling. Then you now have device characteristics. Then the syntax, how to write it. Then you see that here it is followed by the at media screen, and then you now declare whether you want max width or min width. Then you now move forward with it. So that's it. So working with CSS is always fun and is a tentative way of giving joy to both the user and the developer that codes the solution. Always figure ways to optimize your code by using flexible, reusable parameters. Figure out the communication between your parent and end components as to have full control of the elements you so desire. So if you guys have been reading the tidbits provided by this my little bot friend here, you will be seeing that he has been having one or two things to say during the course of the class. I just hope you followed it and I hope you had fun with it. So yeah, so we have come to the end of this class. Thank you guys for having me to the end of this class. If you guys want to make any additions or subtractions to this entire class before we close fully, now is your time to say so. So yeah, that's it for the end of this class. Thank you guys for attending. Any questions? I want to take questions before we close. Yes, Anthony.
Thank you very much, sir, for this class. I want to ask, you have been using VS Code, I think, and the code that you introduce, you use the code that to so that we who are using phone will also rejoice. So I don't know. In that class, it will be considered.
Okay, all this code that I wrote right now can be written in your phone. That's why I asked whether phone we are following. So all this code that I wrote now, if you're using decoder or replit, if you are working or code pen, if you are doing it in your phone, you'll be seeing the same results. You understand?
Okay, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Okay, very sure. Okay, so thank you guys, and thank you for having me. So you guys can leave the class. You guys cannot leave the call. Kelechi and Joy, why is still do this call? Chino Joy, are you there?
Afẹ̀mígò.
Chikere and Tochiko, why did you people join back? The class has ended. Leave the call, please. Chike, Chik, Joy. My.